Good morning, students. Welcome in this class. This video is for class 8, subject Social Science. Today we are going to start History chapter 8, Women, Caste and Reforms. It is the first lecture of this chapter, and in today's lecture, topics to be discussed are: first one, introduction of the chapter; second, working towards changing the lives of widows, hook swinging festival, and in last some question answer will be given to you as homework. So friends, let's start today's discussion. Actually, today's lecture means women, caste and reforms. Okay, it introduces the changes which were brought by different social reformers in Indian society. So we will study about these changes. Ki how was the situation in the ancient time and in today's life what changes have occurred. Understood? Yes. So let's start today's discussion. In today's modern world, girls go to school and study with boys. Yes, friends, as we know that in today's world, women empowerment is one of the most important agendas of our country. They are given a number of rights such as right to education, to work, to vote in election. But in old times, it was not so. Women were deprived of many rights. They were not sent to school and were married at an early age. Okay, mean on growing up, many of them go to colleges and universities and take up jobs after that. Okay, okay. Now, if we talk about today's life, modern time, that now the you can say situations or the scene is completely changed. Okay, कि earlier women were deprived from different many rights, but now they have equal rights in every field. Means they have the right to education, okay, and right to vote, right to freedom, okay. Means now they have the right to education. They can go in the colleges, universities for higher education, and after completing her education, that they can do work, job also, but earlier it was not so. Okay, they can't even that go outside from their houses. Okay, they have to be adults before they are legally married, and according to law they can marry anyone they like from any caste, any community, and widows can remarry too. Yes, friends, as I told that women were deprived of many rights. They were not sent to school and they were married at an early age, and that they had no right, okay, to choose her life partner according to her choice. Okay, that she has had to force to marry that person which was chosen by her parents. Understood? But in today's life, that this type of freedom also is given to girls. Okay, now the girls have right to choose their life partner according to their choice. And at that time, widows also were not allowed to remarry. But now, this time, means modern time in independent India, now the widows are allowed to remarry. Understood? Miss Beta, what is the that conclusion of these things? Ki earlier that there were many social evils which were presented in Indian society after the independence. Okay, due to the efforts of that many social reformers, now this that evils were removed from Indian society, and now the women, means girls and boys, men and women, both have equal right, whether the right to education, right to vote, right to equality, freedom. This is there. Okay. All women, like all men, can vote and stand for elections. So already I have discussed about it, told you that according to the constitution, now right to equality is given to everyone, whether they are men, women, or belong to any caste, religion. Okay, means everyone has right to equality, right to vote. Okay, कि earlier that women were not allowed to, you can say, not allowed to give their opinion. Okay, they didn't have this type of freedom. Okay, all decisions were taken by the male member of the family. Okay, but now if we see that right to equality, right to vote is given to women also, means after the independence, that according to the constitution, right to vote, right to freedom, equality is given to everyone, whether men or women. Of course, these rights are not actually enjoyed by all. Poor people have little or no access to education, and in many families, women can't choose their husbands. As I told, according to law, according to constitutions, these rights are given to everyone. But now also if we talk that the present time of our society, that in some areas, some parts of our country, or especially if we say that the people, those who are poor or uneducated, okay, and in the rural areas, now also some people have narrow thinking, okay, that in these families the girls are not allowed to choose their life partner, they are not allowed to get higher education. These things also presented in our Indian society. But things were different 200 years ago. At an early stage, most children were married, and in some parts of the country, women were forced to practice sati. Okay, now we will discuss about some social evils which were presented in Indian society. So as I told Vita that, and as you know also, you see that in present life, modern life, that girls are also, you can say, or girls also have equal right like boys in a family. Okay, that both children, boy and girl, are given all facilities by the parents. But if we talk about ancient India, means the time period to like 200 years ago, so at that time this type of situation was not there. Okay, the society was totally different. Okay, that men are, means you can say, women faced a lot of discrimination in the society. They were not given even any right. Okay, they means that were not allowed to step out from their houses. They were just you can say allowed to do only kitchen work or the household duties. They were not allowed to attend the schools, and therefore many reasons were there कि why that the people had not sending girls to school. Okay, actually some reasons were there, like people afraid of the school that were opened in the mid 19th centuries by the, you can say, British government. Okay, they feared that school would take girls away from home and prevent them from doing their domestic work, their household duties. Okay, and the other reasons, like they thought as girls had to travel through public places in order to reach school, so many people began to feel that this would have a corrupting influence on them, means they are not safe in the society. And several people were of the opinion that girls should be stay away from public places. This is there. So there were many reasons that in ancient time people were not ready to send their girl child to school. Okay, and many other social evils were also presented in the society. Now we will discuss about it. Like as I told that at that time the things were totally different. There were different laws for both men and women, and both that both society, or you can say Hindu and Muslim man, could marry more than one wife, but a widow woman were never allowed to remarry. Okay, and if a woman died at her husband that funeral, she was praised and was termed as sati. I think you have heard about this word sati. and women were not given education nor did they have any right over their ancestral property. This was there. Okay, students. So now we will discuss about it. What was this sati system? And after looking this we can come to know that the women faced a lot of discrimination in Indian society. Okay, as I told that men were allowed to remarry and more than one marriage also. Okay, but you can say widow women was not allowed to remarry, and if if a woman died at her husband's funeral. So she was praised for that work. And this term was known as sati. Okay, as beta, I guess actually the sati word means a virtuous woman who died willingly or otherwise by burning herself on the funeral pyre of her husband. Okay, and I think you will be surprised to know that in some parts of our country, people believed that if that you educate women, then they will become a widow. So this was the thinking of the people. Differences between men and women were not the only ones present in our country, but there were differences among castes also. Okay, as we know that the Indian society was based on caste system. So already we have discussed about it, human rights property that were not restricted and they were not assessed to education. Okay, means they were not allowed or they were not given any right in the property of their ancestor. Okay, the property of any you can say father person just was divided among all the male children, not to the any girl. Okay, so for that the act was later on in the independence India, the act was passed, Hindu Succession Act. Okay, according to that, now all the children that have equal right in the property of father. According to the caste system, Brahmins and Kshatriyas were considered as upper caste. As we know, beta, that Indian society was based on the caste system, and there were four main castes considered four main castes: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Brahman and Kshatriyas, they were considered upper caste. So now we were discussing about the second social level. First, we have discussed about the sati system. Okay, in which that you can say the widow you can say women were forced to put herself into the funeral pyre of her husband. Okay, now the second social evil which was presented in Indian society, that was caste system. Okay, that there were four main castes: Brahman, Vaishyas, Shudras, Kshatriyas. Okay, Brahman and Kshatriyas were considered upper caste. Vaishyas, who were the traders or moneylenders, were placed after them, and peasants, means farmer and artisans such as weavers, potters, they were known as Shudras. And those who were considered the lower ones, okay, lowest were the ones who were into the work of cleaning villages and cities. Okay, and these jobs were considered as the polluting jobs by the upper caste, and that's why the groups at the bottom were considered as untouchable. So understood about the four caste. First, Brahman considered the most important that and had most important place in the society. After that, you can say Vaishyas, those who were traders, and Kshatriyas, warrior class, and the lower class means the people those who were involved in the work of cleaning. This is there, and they also faced a lot of discrimination. Others such as traders, moneylender, Vaishyas were placed after them. This already I told you. And the next category, peasants, artisans, and weavers, potters, they are Shudras. The lowest earning were those who labored to keep cities and villages clean or worked under upper caste. Okay, so understood students? Already I told you about these four classes. Brahman, most important class. After that, Vaishyas. Third one is there, that is warrior class. Okay, and the lowest class, Shudras. In Shudras also that it is categorized into two parts. First is that you can say lowest caste Shudras, those who were involved in the labor work, okay, and Ati Shudras, those who work that are involved in the work of cleaning the villages and cities. This is there, okay. And why they were considered? Actually, they thought that this was the thinking of the people, ki the job, okay, which were done by these people, these were polluting jobs. Okay. The upper caste considered these groups as untouchables. Untouchables? Okay, I told you about the Atishudras, means the people, those who were involved in the work of cleaning, they were considered the untouchables, means they were not allowed to enter in the village. They were not allowed to touch anything. They were not allowed to drink the water from the wells. Okay. And which were used by the higher class people. They were not allowed to enter in the schools. They were considered untouchables. Okay. Means people were not, you can say, ready to touch the things or touch them. So they considered untouchables. This is there. Okay. As I told, they were not allowed to enter temples, draw water. Okay. From the upper caste groups wells. And they were treated as inferior women. Okay. And so by during this 19th and 20th centuries, many of these practice changes, and now we will see that how this became possible. Now we see that these things are like caste systems and that sati system. This type of evils not present in our society in today's life. Okay. So now we will study that how this became possible, how these changes occurred in societies, who made efforts to remove this. Okay. Yes, debates and discussion about social customs and practices took on a new characters. Okay. And one important reason was the development of new forms of communication like books, newspaper, magazines, leaflets and pamphlets. Yes, friends, in which if I tell that the most contributions of the British also, after the arrival of British, when people started to get educations, and many social reformer also made efforts to remove the social evils in Indian society. Now people started, those who were educated, okay, and influenced by the British culture, they started to debate discussions on the social customs or practices practiced by the different peoples of Indian society. And the people, when they means the people, those who were educated, they started to write about these social evils, okay, and their that you can say disadvantages, effects on the society in their books, newspaper and magazines. These were there. Okay. Yes, friends, actually one word is used here, leaflets. So you must know about the meaning of leaflets. That is, you can say, printed paper, like an advertising paper in which the things are printed and distributed free. All kinds of issues like social, political, economic and religious could be debated and discussed by men and sometimes by women in the new. Yes, friends, Miss, at that time 19th centuries, or you can say under the colonial period, okay, now people started to take part in the debates, discussions related to the social, political, economic, all type of matters of the Indian society, and sometimes the women also take part in it. Okay. Now we will discuss about which women took part in the social reforms in our next lecture. Now we will discuss about a great social reformer, okay, who contributed a lot to remove this type of social evils from Indian society. That was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay. So as we discussed that means 19th century, from early 19th centuries, people starting doing debates and discussion about social custom and practice taking on a new shape. Okay, and one major reason, as we discussed, was the development of books, newspaper, magazines, which started printing. Okay, after the that invention of the printing press. This made ordinary people read about social issues and even right to express when they thought about various social, political and economic issues. This resulted is in the expansions of such debates and led to movements which brought social changes. So such types of debates were initiated by the Indian reformers, and one such reformer was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, he founded the Brahm Samaj, which later came to be known as, in starting it was known as Brahm Sabha, and later came to be known as Brahm Samaj, and it was founded in Calcutta. Sorry. Okay, actually, people like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, known as reformers, because they felt that the evils of the societies should be removed, and to ensure these changes, they start persuading people to give up old practices and adopt a new way of life. Raja Ram Mohan Roy wanted to spread the knowledge of Western education in the country so that he could bring equality for women. According to him, women were forced to stay at home and just do the household works. They were never allowed to go out and get an education. Okay, actually, Raja Ram Mohan Roy felt that changes were necessary in the society and unjust practices needed to be done away with if really we wanted to bring development in our country. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy was influenced by the Western education, okay, Western culture, because in Western education or Western culture there was no discrimination among between men and women. This is there. He was need to spread the knowledge of Western education in the country and bring about greater freedom and equality for women. Understood, I just told you that he was in the favor of Western education and to adopt Western culture and to provide freedom and equality to all persons, both men and women equally. He wrote about the way women were forced to bear the burden of domestic work, confined to the home and the kitchen and not allowed to move out, became educated. Okay, so means about the social reforms and to you can say create awareness among the people. Then Raja Ram Mohan Roy wrote about these things in his book. Okay, and they thought that the best way to ensure such change is by persuading people to give up old practices and adopt a new way of life. Okay, he requested the people. He wrote in his book to that give up the old practices and adopt a new way of life. Okay, to bring development or to live a civilized life. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was particularly moved the problems widows faced in their lives. Okay, and that he began a campaign against the practice of sati. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was well versed in Sanskrit, Persian, and several other Indian and European languages. He tried to show through his writings that practice of widow burning had no sanction in ancient texts. Okay, yes. So the thing which had a major effect on Raja Ram Mohan Roy was that bad condition of the widows in India. So he began a campaign against the movement, against the practice of sati. Raja Raman Roy, was a learned man. He had the knowledge of many languages. Okay, he knew many languages like Sanskrit, Persian, and many other foreign languages also. So he started to write, or he wrote many books. Okay, to prove that there was no evidence of sati system in the ancient text. Okay, means that it was not our culture. He tried to tell the people that sati was not our culture. That in the ancient text there was no sanction of sati system. At that time people were not practiced If we talk about the early ancient time, so at that time women were given more importance, respect in the society. This is there. And later on many other reformers also, that means followed the footsteps of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay. And so by the early 19th centuries, the Britishers began to criticize the Indian tradition, as we have studied in our previous lecture, previous chapter, that Britishers made many new laws. Okay, they started to interfere in the social affairs also of the Indians, and for that, that they banned sati system in 1829 because of the attempts made by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. And later on, many other social reformers followed in the, you can say, that footsteps of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and started using various that phrases from the early text to prove that most of the traditions which were being followed by the Indians were against the early tradition. Understood about it? Yes. They were therefore more than willing to listen Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and was reputed to be a learned man, and in 1929 Sati was banned. This I told you. Okay. Now we will discuss about another, you can say, that social evils. That was hanging festival. What was it? Hanging festival. Now we will discuss about it. In the popular festival, devotees underwent a peculiar form of suffering as part of ritual worship. As we know that the Indian society, okay, means the Indian people had great faith in rituals and sacrifices, uh, means without thinking them, without any scientific reason. Okay, they just had a faith. Okay, and for that one festival was there which was celebrated, okay, practiced in Indian society, was known as hook swinging festival. What was this festival? In which to show the devotions to the that you can say supreme power or god, in which on which they had faith. Okay, so the devotees underwent a peculiar form of suffering. Okay, and according you can say in these rituals, what they did actually, they pierced themselves with a hook. Okay, means they pierced a hook in their skin or body, and then they swung themselves on a wheel. In the early 19th century, when European officials began criticizing Indian customs and rituals, and that is the barbaric, which was the rituals that came under attack. This is there. Okay. So means that was very, you can say, very typical, very, you can say, nonsense activities to just show the devotions. So, in the early 19th centuries, this practice was, you can say, banned by the British government. So, means now at that time in 19th centuries, the people were not allowed to that celebrate these traditions or festivals. This is there, okay, and it wasn't the hook festivals, means that pierce hooks in their skins and then swung themselves on a wheel. Understood about it? Okay, so but these were some social evils which were presented in Indian society in the ancient time, and this social evils was removed by the efforts of the social reformers, and the British government, or can say British officials, also contributed, okay, to remove these social evils from Indian society. About other you can say efforts of the other peoples and how these changes came in Indian society, we will study in our next lecture. Now, homework related to today's lecture. Some question answer will be given to you. In which first question, who was Raja Ram Mohan Roy? What is hook swinging festival? Question 3. What do you mean by sati? Fourth question. What were the different reasons people had for not sending girls to school? Already we have discussed about it. I told you many reasons. How did reformers bring changes in society? So, beta, this is your homework. You have to write the answers of this question in your fair notebook, and after completing the homework, take a clear pic image of your homework and send it to me on my email ID. So, in this way, our today's lecture is completed. Tomorrow we will meet again with our next lecture. Thank you. Have a nice day.